Women are destroying themselves in the name of love, not because of lack of education, not because of lack of opportunity, not because of lack of intelligence, but because of the lack of uncontrolled emotional attachment. And today I want us to have a serious conversation about what we call love, because women are losing their finances, women are losing their mental health, women are losing themselves, all because they would have attached themselves to the wrong person emotionally. And I want to start this conversation basically by saying that I I want to put a little disclaimer here that I never want this channel to be something that people think is me talking down to anyone, or like it's big me and small them. I want it to be a channel where persons feel like, okay, I feel like Deandra is like, a girl's girl. She is like the big sister I never had, that kind of feeling, right? Because I am too in my becoming. I am transitioning through womanhood, as you guys could see from my other channels that, it is my objective always to inspire, empower, and educate. That's been my life's work as somebody who's worked with youth for most of my life. And so I want to start with that, right? So with that being said, I want us to unpack what love really is, right? So love is like the strongest emotion known to man, right? We would have seen songs being written about love, poetry, movies, being written about love. And we also can see that the word love, by, the world's definition, is something that could be very destructive, right? We've seen the Romeo and Juliet young love, where persons are attached, and there's like this uncontrolled, just kind of fiery desire, that happens that can allow persons to just feel, impulsive, right? And make permanent decisions off of just emotions, right? And I think a lot of us as women, we have felt victim, to that. We're doing things that are causing us to really self-destruct, and then we're calling it love, so that is really what this conversation is about today. And it's really inspired by a conversation that I was having with one of my beauty providers. If you guys can see, got my hair done, traditional sewing, right? And she and I were just talking about, all of the things that concerns women, because that's what you do when we sit down and we talk. We have exchanges about just what's going on with us as women, some of our challenges, some of the good things, and all the things, right? And no matter who you are in the world, once you are a woman, it's not easy, right? Being a woman, there's so much required of us, right? And whether you live in Japan or you're deep on this side of the world, in the Western world, I'm in Nassau, the Bahamas, we all have some of the same challenges, the same struggles and all that kind of thing, the same beautiful experiences. I think that God blessed us with beauty because he knew, that all of the things and the transitions and the different things that we would have to go through, that is just the silver lining, to being a woman. But I really, really wanted to unpack this conversation because, like I said, I'm piggybacking off of another conversation that I was having with one of my beautiful service providers. All right. So we talked a little bit about what love is and the danger, that it could do if it's like this uncontrolled attachment, because that's what it really becomes, right? When you are in love with someone, you start to get to know the person and start to spend more time with them. And so naturally you are attached. But there's something that Tina Turner said. It's one of my favorite songs that I had no business listening to as a kid growing up, that my mom used to play. And it's Tina Turner's song that says, "What's love got to do with it?" And she says, "You must understand, though the touch of your hand makes my pulse react, that it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl. Opposites attract. It's physical, only logical. You must try to ignore that it means more than that. What's love got to do with it?" Isn't that is so profound now that I'm older, because it's like, it is so powerful. Basically, what she's saying is that it's human nature. It's natural for a boy and a girl, or male and female, to connect. And the attraction is natural. The chemistry is natural. The desire is natural. Hormones are natural, right? But natural does not always mean safe, or natural doesn't always mean like in your best interest. All right. And temporary emotions can create permanent consequences. And I think many of us women kind of mistake intensity for love, when sometimes it's just simply attachment, right? We're just simply attached to someone. And so sometimes we could make decisions just based, on that attachment. And I think it's really conditioning. Also, from the fairy tales, from at the time that we could watch TV talk, we're thinking about the princess stories where, the prince is coming to save us and we're chosen, right? And then we run into the sunset on the horse and we lived happily ever after. So we're taught very, very early on, that we are to expect to be chosen, by men. And while this channel is not a channel that really centers men, I think a lot needs to be said as it relates to attaching yourself to men. Because if you are a woman that is going to live an intentional and abundant life, you have to remember that we were born whole, right? As women, we were born whole. You were born with everything you need, right? Sovereignty, agency, autonomy. You were born with that, right? And there would have been women that would have fought, right? Even though we didn't have it, like in the 1950s, our world was a little bit different, where we did not have, the right to vote, right? That's where you have the women's suffrage movement, the women's suffrage movement in the Bahamas, that allowed us in the Bahamas, like in the 1960s, to be able to like have that equality, right? So before time, we were dependent on men, like in the 1950s, where women could not buy a home or like get a mortgage or whatever. They had to have been tied to a man, right? But we've made great strides, right, from those years where we had to be attached to men. So where Grammy and those had to deal with like certain things because it was more of survival, where they had to be attached to a man. They had to be, they needed a man in order to survive in society, to operate in society, right? So that's where you have like the women that had the 9 children, because when daddy goes to work or whatever, like mommy's or Grammy's rather role was to just go home, and create the home base, where she had to take care of the children and cook and just be a support for the man, right? But we have made such great strides since then. But we as women, I find we are still making the conscious decision to attach ourselves to men. And men that in most cases, it's almost like we're creating self-inflicted pain, because that's what it is, on ourselves, attaching ourselves to the wrong men. All right. And so we need to stop and think, with having equality and for us fighting for equality, why is it that we're giving up our autonomy and our agency and our sovereignty for men that are just draining us, as women, right? That are not having our best interests at heart, right? And that we're calling it love. So we're staying and enduring and having this survival mentality in the name of love. And that concerns me. And that was one of the conversations that, like I said, me and my service provider was having today, that it's such a common theme among us women, older and younger, that we are allowing men to just strip us of the things that make us whole, right? We're no longer in a time where we have to do it. So why are we doing it? And are we prettying it up and then sprinkling up, putting sprinkles over it to say, oh, but I love him, when a relationship is no benefit to you, right? So the whole conversation is centered around, is it love or is it uncontrolled emotional attachment, right? So let's unpack it. Now, we as women, must learn how to let logic lead when emotions become overwhelming. Emotions are powerful, but they become dangerous when logic disappears. And I think us as women need to understand that you could love deeply and still walk away when something doesn't completely serve you. Okay? So we're no longer, well, if you are a teenager, and then, I just think it's a rite of passage that, you boy meets girl, you think it's cute and what's not. But as you get older, I think we need to start paying more attention to who are these men in our lives, right? Why are they in our lives? Let's remove the word love and let's put the logic back in it. Why is a man in our life, right? If we were born sovereign, if we were born with agency and autonomy, right? We would have educated ourselves, acquired our own things, because that's what we fought for, right? We have the education, we have the finances and all the things. Why would we attach ourselves to a man that has no value in our life? I need us to really, really think about that as women. I need us to start thinking with logic and removing our emotions out of it. And I know it's hard because as a woman, we are emotional beings, right? But I need us as women to really start assessing, why is this male individual in my life? Is he making my life easier, right? Is he adding value to my life other than what the opposite sex has to offer in terms of, the physical that everyone is born with, right? Other than those hormones and like Tina Turner said, the touch of your hand makes my pulse react. Other than that, why are you in my life? Right? Why am I giving up my agency, my autonomy, my sovereignty to now give you the time of day, right? That is going to last beyond, the short term. That is something we as women have to start asking ourselves and not saying, oh, but he made me feel, feelings are fleeting. And I think that's a conversation that we don't have enough. You have women that are having babies because a man says, oh, I love you. He's just saying the word, no action, no accountability, just baby, I love you, right? And so we're able to make permanent decisions, based on just something that a man would have said. And I need us as women of all ages to really start evaluating when we start to get to even talk to a man. I need us to start saying, okay, I know the nature of men now, because we have so much content, right? This is not like when I grew up, when we saw the rise of the internet, right? The experience is out there. Remember in my other video, I talked about mentors, like just saving you time and energy and all the things, right? We have women that are out there that we don't even have to look online. We have examples right before us in our families that we could say, wow, like, no, I saw what that man did to this lady in my family, or that lady. And you know what? I can't think that I'm special. If I have the same variables, if I do the same thing, then I'm going to get the same result, right? If a man tricked my mommy and she had 5 baby daddies, and all of them would have failed to deliver on what they said the value that they were going to add in her life, then I also have to evaluate, hey, I can't think that I'm more special than mommy or Grammy or auntie, They're all women, they're all beautiful in their own right. Why did it happen to them and why wouldn't it happen to me? I need us to start evaluating that because, somewhere along the line, we women think that we're super duper special, right? And we are. We are to our parents. We are to the people that love us. But when you come in the marketplace, right? When you come in the world with ravenous wolves sometime, right? They're all going to appear as if they're going to have your best interest at heart. And that's why I think we as women have to remove the notion that we're special. We are special in our own right, don't get me wrong, but not special in the way that because it happened to another woman that it can't happen to you. Those, we as women sometimes think like, oh, he wouldn't try it with me. In the Bahamas, we say hog no to where to rub their skin in. And he wouldn't dare because I don't play that kind of game. I run a strict program and all the things. Well, I want to say that if you're going to stand on business, be strict with your boundaries, so that you could have the advantage over someone who is only coming to deplete you. Because I saw this video where a woman like had a full cup of water, and she said when she meets a man, how you start to slowly dip out, and it was hilarious, but it was very real, because if you do not try to assess why is this man in my life, that could be the reality, right? That could very well be the reality. And I think women need to have a serious conversation about these things, because it is very, very real. And every day, we see a woman on social media crying or some reaction. And this is married women, single women, young, old, it doesn't matter. That, the social media is just showing us that where a man, just gravely disappointed a woman. And we have to ask ourselves, who gave them that power, right? Nothing moves without a woman. A man could not talk to a woman if a woman doesn't allow it. A man could not engage with the woman unless she allows it. And that's where you have the lying and the trying to over deliver on things, or trying to overcompensate, leading with money and leading with all of these different things that will get the woman's attention, because a man understands that nothing moves without the woman's consent. And somewhere along the line, we're still being tricked as women to think that, oh, this is the one. He's special. This time is different. Oh, the woman that he had before him, he loved her, but she did this, that, and the next. I've heard it all. Yeah. And sometimes I really, really understand how men get away with just doing, just the bare minimum and getting the maximum, right? Women have borrowed money from men in the name of love. They are in debt from men in the name of love. And all men has to do is dangle, a carrot, which is in a lot of cases a ring, and say, okay, I know I'm not, making any sense in your life, but here's a ring, or, I want you to have my baby, and all the man had to do was say, that he loved you, show you some attention, and then your life is completely devoted to him. He could treat you any kind of way, call you out of your name. So you have this uncontrolled emotional attachment, when in actuality, you call it love, but it really is uncontrolled emotional attachment. You spend all of your time together, you were loved bombed, and you had all the conversation, you're falling asleep on the phone and all that kind of stuff, which is normally what happens in the beginning of every relationship. But what happens is, the chemistry and the desire, and like I said, the hormones and all the things cannot be mistaken for intention. After, we would have had the intensity, where are you going in my life? Are you honest? Am I the only one? If we're going to build a future together, what does that plan look like? Do you have that on paper? What do our timelines look like? These are the questions that we as women do not answer, but we're saying that we're in love, right? Some of us as women pick straight up bums. and we're saying that we're in love with them. Are we well? Are we well? Some of these women, some of the men are telling us the most derogatory things known to mankind, and we're still laying with them. Are we well? And like my mother said, love does not die in a day. So I'm not at all saying that if you are a woman and you're in a relationship and you find out that a man is not what you thought he was, but then you would have spent your time there, you would have given him access to you and all the things. Access could be cut at any time. Access could be cut at any given time, baby. You don't have to rotten it. Nothing moves without a woman. A man cannot engage with a woman unless she gives consent. And if he does, we have a word for that, and he could go to prison. So all of these things that are happening to us as women is self-inflicted. We said yes. And so you had to open up that door to be able to engage with a man, right? I'm not really so much saying in terms of, if you're married, because, that's a different conversation to be had, because, but if you're literally dating and you have uncontrolled attachment to a man, that is nobody else's fault except for yours. And so you would need the tools in order to get yourself out of that toxic, uncontrolled attachment. And why do I say uncontrolled is because you have to know as a woman that you have to have boundaries, right? A man comes hot and heavy. We know he comes with all the things, right? All the testosterone, all the things that the male has to offer. And that could be, very beautiful. You get the butterflies and all the things, but it's uncontrolled when you become attached, not having an end game, right? You cannot as women any longer get away with, I didn't know. No. I don't care who we are. The signs are always there, but we run through them sometimes because we're lonely, or, we want to buy into that, the Cinderella princess thing and all the things, right? And so we make excuses for the people that we are with, even though we know this isn't looking well. It's like you hear the trend on TikTok says you hear the saxophone keeps getting louder, but we pay no attention because somewhere along the line we think that we're special and it's going to work out. But I have something that I always say: it's best that you break your own heart, because let me rephrase that. It's better that you break your own heart, because if you go against yourself and try to demean yourself, or, just make excuses for bad treatment, that you're going to get the worst heartbreak ever. The other person is going to do it for you. So it's best that you have the discipline to discipline yourself to say, you know what, this doesn't align with me, and move on, and not calling that love and calling it what it is: uncontrolled emotional attachment, and regulating that before you would have lose years of your life just trying to just call a good time that was fleeting, what it is, and just move on with your life. It's better to be whole and by yourself as opposed to being with someone and just being destroyed. I mean, there are so many examples, and I know as I am talking, and the women that are watching this, if it doesn't resonate with you, somebody that is like, wow, that is so real, right? And we have to get to a place where when we engage with a man, we have to ask ourselves at all times, what value does this add to my life? When you are getting involved with a man, you have to ask yourself as a woman, other than the fleeting hormonal exchange that we would have had, what value does this man have in my life long term? That is very important that we do that. And you cannot get around that no matter what happens. You have to be able to control your emotions. All right. Very, very important, because we as women are already whole. A relationship should add to your identity, not consume it. Right? We would have already built hobbies for ourselves, joy. Like I said, a lot of us are educated women that have our own, right? A man should not take away from your life. He should only add. And the healthiest relationships happen when two whole people come together, not when one person is trying to be saved by the other. So as women too, we need to stop picking up these persons that are kind of broken, and we're looking to do a do-it-yourself project, right? And we just have this thing that, okay, you could heal each other. Another thing is bonding from trauma, right? Those things, you need to do your own individual healing, I think, before you merge with somebody else, because we're having so much horror stories around the world where women are leaving from being whole and just depleting themselves by attaching themselves to a unhealed man, to a narcissist, to men who, come hot and heavy and then slowly turn into their true selves, over time. We need to have longevity also to be like, you know what, I'm going to hold off until I see this man's true colors, right? Not the first 2 weeks that we meet, a man, we're thinking, oh, I love him. Or, they normally say that they love you first, right? Because it's a strong emotion. Love is the strongest emotion known to mankind. And so normally men say that I love you first. And, somewhere along the line, we as women cannot let that jade our perspective or, make us feel as that those words are enough for them to do whatever they want in our lives. You are sovereign, right? Sovereign meaning that you have full control over yourself. A man does not determine your worth. A man does not determine what happens to your life. We give them that power, right? The songwriter says, you weren't special until I made you so. Very, very powerful. So if a man is mistreating you and, you're staying and then you're crying over it and then you keep having babies for him, that's nobody else's fault but yourself. And sometimes we as women cannot even blame ourselves, because if mommy normalized these things, Grammy normalized these things, auntie normalized these things, then we may think that that is normal for us as well, as if it is a rite of passage. And I'm here to tell you, from a woman to a woman, that is not normal. And that you can stop these cycles at any given time, right? Do not think that because this happened to the women that that you have to be the next in line. You don't. If a man is calling you out of your name and beating on you, that man does not love you. It is uncontrolled attachment, because you would have spent years with him, okay? And he would have started to condition you by telling you nasty things. Nobody's ever going to want you. I'm the only one who could tolerate you, or he's taking care of you, doing, I don't know. I don't even care if he's providing a house for you or even a car, right? Stay with him until you could do better. Like my mom used to say, kiss it until you can kick it. Now that may not be, the ideal advice. But I'm going to tell you, it's not, love doesn't die in a day. So if you're with somebody and, they're not treating you right, I'm not saying cut it cold turkey all the time. Sometimes these advice are like unrealistic in some cases. Some people pack up, and never look back, and that's fine. But there are the women that need time to process their emotions, right? So even if you're inside of that relationship, you could actually use that person to detach. Right? That's a plug. That's a nugget right there. That's the cheat code. You can stay and decide that, slowly but surely, I'm going to get my emotions together. I'm going to do the work that it takes for me to fully detach. Just how you attach yourself to that man, you can detach yourself, right? You can get yourself slowly detached from him day by day without him even knowing as well, because it's about you. Queen. Never forget your power. You were born with sovereignty. You're not in the 1950s. You don't need a man in the capacity of, I need a man for survival. You do not. You want a man. You don't need a man. You were whole before you had a man. Right? And don't always take the advice from these people that would have grown up in a different, when a different world existed. Right? And it also depends on, anyway, we're not even going to get into that. The reality is you want but don't need a man for your survival. We have equality now as it relates to opportunities and jobs. Women fought for that so that we don't have to be oppressed by men. Why are we as women still sitting and wallowing in things, like we say in the Bahamas, catching hell and calling it a good time? Self-inflicted. You don't have to do that. You want to do that. And so you don't have anybody else to blame but yourself. And this is a candid conversation, because I'm not going to be the person that is going to tell a woman, oh, well, maybe he'll change, or maybe this. You stick it out if you want to. I'm not saying that, oh, every time something goes haywire that you leave. No, I'm not saying that. Hear me. If you're going to attach yourself to a man, you have to find out what value does this man add in my life, period. And to make sure that you are whole and whole individual, which means that you could take care of your basic necessities as a woman. And I know that this culture has us, this social media culture has us thinking that, oh, a provider man and this, that, and that's fine. And 1 + 1 is 2. But I need you to be one first, before you could look to somebody else and say, oh, be whole first. Be able to take care of your basic necessities as a woman. Make sure that you have your own money, your own transportation. So when you put yourself with someone, you look completely at what they have to offer to you, right? You're not looking at potential. You're looking completely at, what does this man, after he's told me that I'm beautiful, and he wakes me up every morning with the good morning, beautiful text. Every morning you have the message on your phone, good morning, beautiful. So that's the attention. And yes, this is true. We also have women that just date men and give them full access to their bodies and their life and their world just for attention. Women, we have to stop. We have to stop. We don't have nobody else to blame but ourselves. And the thing about it is, we get so emotionally distraught when we're letting our guard down too quickly. We are being intimate with men too quickly. We don't even give them chance to figure out, where is this joker going with this facade that he's painting, right? Is he sending out the representative? Is this a person that is just putting on his best just to be intimate with me and extract all the feminine has to offer? Or is this someone who really values me for who I am? Are we even asking anymore, what do you see in me? Right? Why do you want to date me? Are we even asking men their intentions? Are we asking men their intentions for us? Are we going out on dates and even making them be intentional about spending time with us? Or are we just Netflixing and chilling and then getting hot and heavy? And like Tina Turner said, the touch of your hand makes the pulse react. And then now our life is down a system where we're just reacting to something that was just really hormonal. We have no one to blame but ourselves. No one to blame but ourselves. So I need us to take accountability. No more can we be the person, the women that say, oh, he changed. Did he? Did he really change? Or were we the women that decided that I was going to give a man a chance that really did not deserve the time of day? How did he even get access to me? Is what you have to ask yourself. What do I give off that makes you feel that you could come in my DM and start speaking to me? Or you can just start extracting from me based on the premise of what? And a lot of the time, A lot of the times men tell us their intentions, but like I said, some of us just think that we're so special, or we're so desperate, or we're so vulnerable, and we're so we want to be so blind that we are literally putting our value down when we were born whole. There's no way. We have to stop blaming men. And a lot of us, and this is a conversation that, we need accountability. We cost it on ourselves. Right? You knew the man was unemployed, but you saw potential in him. You knew that he couldn't give you anything financially, to enhance your life, but you gave him a chance. You know that he was going to drop you to work and pick you up in your car, right? And keep it all day and entertain other women. But, you felt good because he was giving you attention, right? You knew that you moved him in your house because, you wanted a man around. You wanted somebody warm in your bed, right? It's not love. Uncontrolled emotional attachment. It was never love, right? It depends on what your definition even is about love. Tina Turner said, "What's love but a sweet old-fashioned notion?" Jesus, what a revelation. What a revelation. We as women have to even decenter our idea of love, or I guess redefine what that really is, right? We really need to evaluate a man's ability to enhance our lives. What do an assessment, write down, what do I want from a man in my life? And I will not, if he doesn't create these things, then I don't see the need of entertaining him. Like, we need to get there as women. I'm sorry if I was passionate. I just felt so strongly today as me and, another lady was talking, and it just dawned on me that it's self-inflicted now that I'm 39 years old, right? I look back over my life from the transition to womanhood, when you're, hormonal, when you're transitioning from a young girl into womanhood, when you're checking out the boys and, you're trying to just navigate through this thing, and you get to see, like, back then, it was all hormonal, boy meets girl. You want to have your little boyfriend, but why? It was solely based on emotion, based on, that physical kind of I guess attraction. It was shallow back then, because a lot of times your brain isn't even fully developed. So back then it was like, if you have a boyfriend, it solely was just hormonal and very immature. So are we still doing that, in the later stage of life? Are we just acting as we did as teenagers off of impulse? Or have we grown so mature in our womanhood journey that we have to, we realize that we have to have the question, listen, what value will you have in my life? What are you coming to add, or are you coming to subtract? What is your intention toward me? Are we asking these questions? And while a man could lie and play the ideal lover, it is our responsibility to keep them accountable. It is us who has the power. And anytime that doesn't align with us, right, when they fall short of what they say they are, it is up to us as women to say, okay, I'm out. Remove yourself, just how you attach, detach. But you have to be emotionally matured, and you have to have the tools. And so with that being said, I have about 10 ways on how to control attachment, right? And, I jotted them down. It wouldn't be me if I didn't jot it down so that I would not ramble too much. And I think I did a lot of that. But you guys tell me in the comments if you resonated with anything that I said. So Emotional regulation may be one of the most important skills a woman can develop, like to combat this uncontrolled emotional attachment, right? And so some ways women can regulate emotional attachment is by one, slow down emotionally. My mom used to say that hot, lovey, and good. Right? You're around someone so much that, you don't have anything outside of them. And you want to see them, all the time. And it's like you want to also like move kind of like in their skin. You ladies know what I'm talking about, right? So just slow down, slow down emotionally a bit. Be intentional about slowing down emotionally. 2, observe patterns, not words, right? If a man is violent, right? When you have a disagreement and he is violent and he starts to just lose his cool as it relates to you and, something doesn't go his way or whatever. If it becomes a pattern, don't mind him keep saying that I'm sorry. No, that's you. It's a pattern. So observe patterns, not words. Learn chemistry versus compatibility, right? Learn chemistry versus compatibility. Now, again, like Tina Turner said, you must understand that the touch of your hand makes my pulse react. It's only the thrill of boy meeting girl opposites attract. It's natural to want to be with, that person that makes you feel hot and heavy, like, oh my God, he's so fine. But outside of that, are you compatible? Does this man have the same value system as you? And without him saying that, remember we talked about looking at patterns. He's not going to be able to fake forever. It's our responsibility to be able to observe, learn chemistry versus compatibility, right? Are we compatible? Do we like the same things? Not the performative part that you've put on. And that's why I don't believe that men should even be intimate with a man sooner than, I would say, they say the 90-day rule. I think I agree with that. Give him 3 months to show you who he really is. And yes, there is a school of thought that men could play in your face, as they're somebody else for a very long time. But you take that chance. At least he would have had some skin in the game, right? Where he would have had to invest heavily in time in terms of also resources to show you that, he has good intentions toward you. And if it doesn't work out, like I said, it doesn't work out. But have a standard, right? To see if you're compatible. Have things that, you are intentional about doing to see like, is this man really a man that believes, like just say in terms of even religion. If he said, that, oh, I'm this and I'm that and the next thing, observe him. Is he a person that meditates? Is he into mindfulness? What does he exhibit that you do that shows you that he does? Or is he just saying this so that, he could appease you? Very important. Number 4, stop romanticizing suffering. For God's sake. And we as women are famous for that. We definitely look for the potential, right? He just don't have it right now. He should not be trying to look for a woman. He should be trying to get his life together. Stop romanticizing suffering, right? That is something that is going to help you to control that attachment, because as soon as you normalize that, that's going to be the trajectory of your life. Welcome to the no limit soldier era where you're going to have to just keep making excuses for suffering, right? So make sure that you stop romanticizing that. Under any circumstances, when you're starting off, suffering is not for you. It's not your portion. Reject it. Maintain your identity. Number 5, maintain your identity. You were someone before a man, and you're going to be someone without a man. So never give your all to someone where, you're hand in glove and you don't have anything going on with you beside that relationship. Always never give every single drop of you as it relates to a man. I've known women where they had to call a man in order to make every single decision that they have. And I'm talking about in the boyfriend and girlfriend stage. call the man if they want to, and they ask permission, by the way, to go and have a drink with, not even just let me don't say drink, to have lunch with coworkers on their lunch break. They call the man and ask them if they could go. We have no one to blame but ourselves, ladies. All right? We don't have anyone to blame but ourselves. These are the things we were born whole and sovereign. And these are the things that and I say